So foundation training is something that I want to say about 2 years ago I started to work with Manny. And prior to that, he really wasn't my dog. And he still really isn't. But I saw him just sitting at home, and I would leave with other dogs and he would be going nuts. He was sitting there chasing flies, and he had this crazy look in his eyes. He was bored out of his skull. And he just started asking me to go with me. And I started taking him with me, and I threw him in my training program because he was a runaway. And dealing with runaways is very difficult. In fact, I want to step by step go through the process of how I taught him to no longer be a runaway. And what I have is I have a parachute long line that I made for him. And it's just like my regular long lines, except it's really fine. And it gets tangled up a little bit, but it's not super long, so I can keep track of it, and I can slow him down a little bit and know where he's going to be and come and get him. And what I do is I pick a pretty steep incline, so I know he can't go running anywhere in particular because of the terrain. And then what I do is I get to the point where I know everybody's been running a little bit, so they're not full of energy. They're actually about half full of energy, and you can start to see when they wind down. And then what I do is actually I work on a lot of recall exercises. So my exercises in my foundation program are broken into categories because that's what I do every day. Is I work in different categories with different dogs, and then the following day or the next week, whenever I'm connecting back with those dogs, I start over where I left off. And in a lot of ways, I've always had to memorize the foundation of where each dog is individually, because there's different things that you want to work on with different dogs. So Manny has earned his off-leash privileges. He comes to me almost flawlessly, like a lot of German Shepherds I've had over the years, which is they think that the most important thing is happening and you need them. And they come right to you. And they get love for it. It's not out of, forcing them to come to you or being mean or using a pinch collar. It's all built over time into the relationship. So recall is the most important part of foundation training. Now, foundation training also involves a lot of down work. Downing a dog, down. Is how I pretty much control the pack. Down. Emmy, down. Emmy, can we sit? Can we down? Good girl. So some dogs need to be understood a little bit differently than the other dogs, as some dogs have difficulty with down. Some dogs have difficulty with sit. Boxers and Dobermans who don't have much fur on their rear have a hard time doing a lot of sit work on asphalt. Manny's not good at down at all. In fact, we don't use down as a position with him. We really only use sit. And it's not very successful. We get that a very small percentage of the time when we really insist on it. And sit is not something he's great at. He's not a great obedience dog. He never has been. So he's not like dogs that'll sit and down and stay and come and heel and do all that stuff regularly. In fact, it's very difficult to get him to really do what it is you want when you want it. So there's some parameters around understanding him, and he's been a special dog.